So you have been wondering what's the difference between a bad and a good frontline player? Then you came to the right place. And today we'll upgrade your tank gameplay from just a high HP punching bag to a monster that drives everyone over with his metal tracks. So let's begin. In my mind there are few stages of the game. You might not even notice them when playing in any other role, but you for sure have to know at which stage the match is when you are playing in a frontline role. The first stage is the beginning of the match, when you just approach the objective. Let's call it the clash stage. At this stage there are 3 ways to act in order to win the round. First way is the most obvious. You just get on the point and try to shoot the enemy tank or scare him off. If you choose this tactic, and this tactic is the main that you wanna use, then bear in mind that you should probably get a master riding, as it will allow you to get on the point first before anyone else does. And believe it or not, being there first is a huge thing. Somehow it works as a mental attack tool. Even if you just hold your shield and you don't actually shoot, so you don't actually represent too much of a threat, the enemy tank may feel like he got zoned out, and if you have managed to make him feel that way, then you have successfully won the clash stage. So you are standing on the point and the percentage is ticking, while the enemy team is trying to retake the objective. And now you enter the snowball stage. Now you just have to confirm that the objective is secured. Obviously you're gonna mainly fight the enemy tank, but if during all this fight the enemy tank goes down, then you shouldn't just stand on the point. What you should do instead is to switch the target and zone everyone else out. Push the enemy team to the nearest choke point, so even if they will group up as 5, they will need to go through the choke point without horses and under your fire. And while you are zoning them out, one of your teammates will stand on the point. But you should know that if you go too far, then you risk dying there alone without any support from your team. You don't need to go to the enemy spawn at this point, just the nearest choke, alright? Make sure that you stand in a place where nobody can just flank you by taking another route, and nobody will suddenly appear behind you and won't kill your team while you are a mile away and can't get there in time. If you do it correctly and zone the enemy team out, then your team captures the point and you enter the last stage, the payload stage. Now you just need to do the same thing that you were doing in the previous stage, but with the consideration that the objective is moving now. You still need to zone people out. You don't necessarily need to hug the objective as long as you secure the area in front of it, up to the next choke. If you do it right and your team is not full of potatoes that can't capitalize on your sick place, then you should be fine and manage to get to the enemy base. Think about it this way. You need to be defending even if you are on the attacking team. If you secure the choke between the enemy team and payload, then it's the enemy team that needs to attack you at the choke to get to the objective and stop the payload. And if you manage to do so, the time is on your side. But that's only one side and only one tactic. And there are actually a few more if you think about it. Let's get back to the clash stage in the start of the round. And let's imagine that you are the one that is losing at the end of the fight. What if the enemy team has managed to zone you out from the objective? What do? Do you just surrender? Hell no! But you definitely lost the clash stage at this point, so keep that in mind. And that means that now you don't just need to retake the objective, you need to come to the choke first. And that's not gonna be easy. And what you should do if your team gets zoned out, you should fall a little bit back, and then when everybody responds, group up and try again. Do not go without your team. Do not go into the enemy zone information alone, because you will, without any doubt, die. And you're gonna die pretty much instantly. If you lost the first fight, it's gonna be hard to recover and retake the point, and you're gonna need some nice coordination with your team. And yeah, as a frontliner, you depend on your team very hard, but you know, it's a team-based game, so anyways. What if you also didn't manage to retake the objective and the enemy team has captured it? And now you need to stop the payload. How do you do that? Group up, really, don't go into the enemy team alone. I see way too many tank players that are doing this shit. Please, stop, really. Also, you need to think about your positioning, just like this guy. Look at him. At this point we lost the objective, and clearly the ground below his feet is secured by the enemy team. They own this shit now, it's theirs. You can't step on it because this is what inevitably gonna happen. And what your positioning should be at this point is somewhere in the payload's way, but either without clear line of sight from the enemy position, or in some narrow place where it's gonna be difficult for the enemy team to come through. Also, you want to force your enemies to come to you and try to go to the choke point rather than doing it by yourself. So you want to make time work for you. So this map, for example, a good defending position is between those walls. This is called a choke point. Stand here and hold this position and take the fight at the choke. Now, if you manage to get a kill or maybe even wipe the enemy team out while they are escorting the payload, you should try to zone them out. Don't let them touch the payload. Go for the dismount, pressure them as hard as you can, but again, don't go too far. The perfect way to zone them out is at the choke between the payload and the enemy team. But if you will go too far, then if somebody wants to be sneaky and he just takes the other route and gets to the payload while you are a mile away from it, you can lose the game off of that. This is one of the stupidest mistakes I've seen, and I actually made this mistake by myself once, and it was very embarrassing. So don't go too far when defending the payload. And now the last and probably the best tactic that the frontline player can implement in his game: flanking. It works very well at the clash stage in the beginning of the match, but you have to understand that flanking as a tank and flanking as a flank champion are completely different things. As a frontliner, you got not that much mobility. You can't be buzzing behind the enemy team and harass them like Eevee or Maeve. No. If you wanna flank, as a frontliner, you are going there to get a kill and split the enemy team in half. This way you just won't allow your opponents to group up. Now you might say, but hey, what about the objective? While you are flanking, the objective is free and the enemy tank may just stand there, and while, yes, it's true, but he won't manage to capture to the 100% in just couple seconds. And while he gets a small percentage of the point captured, you can manage to kill his whole team and then get back to the objective and finish off the tank. Also, you should consider the fact that you need your team while flanking. Usually you can't do it alone effectively, so you should tell your team to come with you and help you out. Think about the tank flank formation as a spear, where you are, as a tank, are the edge. But if there's only edge, it's not a spear yet, is it? You need the rest of your team behind you to just follow you and shoot people, because frontline champions usually don't have that much firepower. The only exception is maybe Rakos, especially with his ultimate. He can pretty much flank alone. Also, if you think that this tactic is stupid, then I gotta say that I was watching a lot of pro teams and they are constantly doing this. They are flanking as a team all the time. Also, I've seen it in my matches, and if the enemy team successfully pulls this trick off, they can usually snowball from there and just win the game with ease. But you also can't do it all the time, because in order this tactic to work, it needs to be unexpected. That's all about tactics. Now I want to give you some general advices on the frontline class. I really want you to understand one thing: you are not entitled to healing. Your support will not heal you 100% of the time. He got his shit to do. He gotta defend himself from people flanking him, he gotta help the damaged heroes stay alive, he gotta kill flankers, and sometimes he gotta flank himself. Your support's not gonna babysit you all the time, and therefore there is no fucking reason to blame the support when you die. If you die, then it wasn't because somebody didn't heal you, you die because you fucked up with your positioning. You haven't been observing the surroundings, or you simply read the situation wrong. Listen, even if there is a support that thinks that he needs to babysit you, which is completely wrong tactic by the way, even then, he won't out-heal all the damage you get in your face if you just jump on 5 guns like this guy right here. Either way, your death is your fault, not your support. If you feel that you need some more healing, guess what? There are ways to regenerate HP without anyone's help. It has already become a meme on Reddit that bad tanks blame support when they die. So don't be one of those guys and learn from your mistakes. Also, don't forget that your enemies can be also behind you, and this is something that you simply cannot allow them to do. You have to zone enemies out, and if somebody gets behind you, he's not being zoned out, right? He pokes your support, he kills your DPS, so pay close attention to the flankers. Most tanks can kill them pretty easy if they come close. For some reason, a lot of tanks in my games just have this tunnel vision, so really guys, pay attention and help your teammates that are behind you. Now about the items. What do you think the tank should buy as the first item? Oh, you think it's Haven or Blast Shields, right?
Right? Wrong.
The first thing you actually should focus on is the utility item, the yellow one. This is actually the most important item for the Frontline champion, as it will define your playstyle throughout the entire match. If you wanna go for the tactic of getting first on the point and scare everyone off, then get the master item. If you wanna go for the flanking tactic, then you have a choice. Some tanks will benefit more from morale boost, primarily it's Rakos and Torvald, because their ultimates can be devastating if you flank. But if you are playing as Fernando, you should probably get Nimble for flanking, so you can stick to someone and just not let him go. Mako can benefit from all of them, but probably the best utility item for flanking Mako is Kronos, as Mako is all about those hooks. Now the green item. If you feel that your support is healing you, but you just want to increase it a little bit, and you actually think that this is a good idea, and your enemies don't get much cauterized, then yeah, you can get Rejuvenate. If just one of those conditions falls off, get a Veteran, but again, only if you feel that you can actually cut a corner and leave the battle for a couple seconds and get healed, and if not, pass on that and move on to the kill to heal. With this item, you just need to touch the target that is gonna die, and you're good. Probably the best item. And Life Rip is only good for Rakos right now, as among all the frontliners, only Rakos has a really high DPS. And now we are coming to the blue items, and before you buy one, stop and count how many control abilities the enemy team has. Do they have Maldamba? That's 2 or 3 already. Pip, 2 more. Bumpkin, 3 more. Torvald, Shalin, Cassie, you know what I'm saying. It doesn't matter how much damage you can mitigate with Haven or Blast Shields if you get stunned every 2 seconds and turn into a chicken and get thrown off the map. So, if you see that there are too many control effects, get Resilience. And at last the red items. With them you just need to counter the enemy team, so nothing new here. Any red item that fits the composition is cool. But again, you gotta understand what your champion can or cannot do. So, if you are playing as Torvald, don't get Bulldozer, because even with it, it's gonna take forever for you to take down turrets and stuff. So just use the common sense and you'll be fine. Well, that's about all of my thoughts on how to play Frontliners. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any of my next videos. And that's it for today. Goodbye and see you around.